Hello and welcome to the Movie Bunker podcast. It's me, Matt.
Hey, it's me, Chris.
And today we're joined by Lucy.
Hello,
Hi.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, Lucy Buglass, all the way from, where are you in the world? Or in the
I'm
country?
in Kent at the minute.
Kent?
Yes.
Oh, lovely Kent. Lovely up there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice. It's nice.
And
Not
how
from
you...
there originally, obviously, but yes, I am in Kent.
I was half expecting you to say somewhere a bit more northern.
Well, yeah, it's where I hailed from originally. Yes, I'm originally from Northumberland, but not these days.
What is it, for those listeners who might not be familiar with what you do, how did you get into movies and journalism?
It was kind of, basically I was I was made redundant from a job, and I basically had a 6-month period of like unemployment. So I basically set up my blog for something to do, essentially. Lucy Goes to Hollywood, my blog. And then it did quite well, and I've got I've got some really good friends now through film journalism, and I'm really enjoying it. It was just one of those lucky things that I didn't expect to take off, It was,
Yeah. And
so, I'm very lucky in the sense that people wanted to read it.
Yeah, and how you've been coping with the lack of cinema in the last 3 or 4 months?
It's been awful, honestly. Like, I haven't been in a cinema since, when was lockdown? March?
March, yeah.
Oh, geez, yeah. So it's been such a long time. Like, I haven't ventured back yet. I haven't joined the Tenet discourse yet. I probably won't for a long time. So I've been relying on Netflix and that kind of thing, really. But it's just not the same, is it?
Yeah, well, my cinema trips are very few and far between anyway, because I think once your kids are in the mix and stuff, and you've got a very difficult, work-life balance, cinema trips are a bit of a luxury. But I usually go for like the big tentpole movies, like Tenet would be definitely something I would love to go and see. But it just doesn't seem to be the draw, isn't there?
Boring job in the world is being like a box office teller for the cinemas now, because everybody comes to the window. It's like, what are you here to see? Tenet? Yeah, just Tenet. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So have you seen it yet, Matt?
No, I haven't ventured into the darkened enclosed spaces just yet.
Well, this is the thing. I think it's gonna take something pretty meaty to draw me back. I know that is something that I want to see. A Christopher Nolan movie on the big screen in IMAX is a massive draw, isn't it?
I think I'm going to have to sort of go into training, because I've not had to sort of focus on one thing for like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour kind of session. I can drift out, pause, go to the kitchen, do a bit of fridge tapas, come back in, start it up again. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be very tricky.
Well, I think everyone's got to have a little bit more confidence before we go and start sharing the same darkened room with each other. But anyway, fingers crossed, everything does start. It looks like it's going back to normal, and Lucy, you can get back out there and start, going to see, get your popcorn bucket out and then sit back and enjoy.
Oh, I miss it. I miss the overpriced popcorn. I miss all of it. Never thought I'd do that. Hey.
Well, until that time, we've got The Happening. I mean, this is something you can watch pretty much any time. If you've got a DVD player and you're fortunate enough to own this on shiny disc, then this is the film you've chosen to talk about. Those who are new to the podcast will know that every now and again, Matt and I will get a special guest on to defend the honour of a critically panned movie, and Lucy has gone right to the.
Doesn't get any more critically panned than this, right?
The Happening, 2008.
Were we supposed to stop here?
What's going on? You can't just leave us here.
Sir, we lost contact.
With whom?
Everyone.
There appears to be an event happening. It's some kind of attack. The first stage is loss of speech.
Claire?
The second stage is physical disorientation. The third stage is fatal.
attacks are spreading.
Boston, Philadelphia,
Maryland.
It's all over the country.
Authorities are now feeling that a terrorist group being responsible is becoming less and less likely.
She says everyone's dead outside.
Run.
Shut the windows and the doors! Here it comes!
Could this really be happening?
This was an M. Night Shyamalan joint. Lucy, what is it in like one sentence almost about The Happening that you can say to defend its honour?
Oh, in a sentence. Oh my gosh.
Well, okay, that was a bit of a stretch.
That was me, man.
I've never done.
Made that in a sentence.
I've never done that before,
Chris. Right, in 20 seconds or less.
I've never done that before. I don't know why I decided to do it on this one, but anyway, right, forget that. Okay, but no, what is it initially then? Let's change that you love about The Happening, or you can defend about The Happening.
Okay, I think in terms of sort of like a thriller about an unknown disease / phenomenon / whatever it actually is, it's got some really good like gory special effects and some good death scenes in it, which I find quite good. Most critics don't. I quite enjoy them, especially the lawnmower one. We'll get out to the lawnmower one in a minute.
Yes.
And then I really liked Mark Wahlberg as well. He's the reason I like it so much, because I just find his character so endearing. And like every time I watch it, I'm just like, oh, bless you, Mark Wahlberg. And I get like, if you just kind of sit back and you think this isn't award winning, it's not like a good thriller, to be honest. It's just a bit B movie, and you just accept it for what it is. You can have a good time with it, I think.
There's lots to mine in this one, because yes, I remember when the trailers were kicking around and there was a lot of sort of pre-movie hype about this. There were lots of like vox pops and things of people walking out of the cinema terrified of what they'd seen, and this is like hailed as his return to the great cinema films that we know he's kind of capable.
People that go to a cinema to walk out. I mean, like, if you was a blind audience test and you was off to go see The Fox and the Hounds and this popped up, then potentially, yes, you have an excuse to leave when things got a bit gory. But you're going to see an R-rated film called The Happening.
Yeah.
Well, what did you want to happen?
I feel like this happens all the time, though. You have like anything that happens at Cannes that's remotely controversial. It's like, oh, people were throwing up, or people have left. And it's like, who are these people? I have never like thrown up in a cinema or left or fainted, but hey, maybe that's just me.
Let's do the plops.
I've indulged in Maltesers once, and that caused quite a scene. That had nothing to do with the film.
So the plot synopsis is: a science teacher, his wife, and a young girl struggle to survive a plague that causes those infected to commit suicide. Now, on IMDb, this is 5 out of 10, which is, I think, pretty good. But on Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of really where you see the crux of it, we've got an 18 splat in the tomato meter and an audience score of 24%, which is very low indeed. So on the whole, we can agree, Lucy, can't we, that this is a universally unliked movie.
And I would also add that the plot synopsis needed an extra word, because it's not just the infected to commit suicide; it's dramatic suicides, right? There's nothing kind of low key about what happens to these people.
But cast-wise, let's dive into the cast. This is what you do at this part of the podcast. So Mark Wahlberg, we've already mentioned. Lucy, so it's a big draw for you. Marky Mark and his funky, well, not bunch, but he's on his own on this occasion. But he's what is it about Mark Wahlberg? Because he's a bit of a Marmite kind of guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think in this film in particular, though, because I rewatched it last night in preparation for this, like it reminded me that I liked this particular character of his. I just find him very endearing. Like I said, kind of my opinion of him to one side. I liked him in this.
Is he? Are you a fan? Are you a fan of his in general?
Yeah, I mean, he's not like my top actor, but he's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, he does his best.
That's not very high praise, is it?
He does it. He's trying hard.
He's fine.
I mean, yeah, he's got a brand new expression in this film, and he really likes to use it a lot, right? So it's just this sort of perplexed face scrunch is kind of the go-to look in this film. Can you imagine Mark Wahlberg being your science teacher? I mean, what kind of school has that happened in?
Yeah, but he reminds me that I think he's gone to the Joey Tribbiani School of Acting in this movie because he's kind of the sniffing of the air. Like, can I smell something? But yeah, I know what you mean. It's for me, the casting is odd. I mean, Mark Wahlberg was obviously at the time. I mean, he is big draw to the box office, and yes, he can really hold a movie, and he's got good action chops. But I think this needed someone with a little bit more. For me, Lucy, to go against what you said, but for me, this needed someone with a little bit more pathos, something who could probably, who looks like they could, pull off a V-neck sweater with like a leather arm, elbow pads, like a proper
someone
teacher.
That could tell you what photosynthesis was, right? That could understand those basic concepts without just sort of maybe asking you a question back, going, I don't know what plants do this. Why do you think plants do this?
Give me a second, please. Give me a second. He just wants 1 second. That's all he needs.
Just 1 second.
I mean, this is the sort of thing that whole scene with him wanting a second that happens to me every single day. Either at work or at home.
Very relatable, yeah.
Yeah, we've all been in the field.
Yeah. So, okay, he's serviceable in this movie. I think he does what he can. Zoe Deschanel. Is it Zoe or Zoe? I know it's Zoe.
Oh, it's Zoe.
I think it's Zoe, isn't it?
Is it Zoe? I mean, there's an extra O in there, but
I think it is Zoe. I think you're wrong, Matt. You can't.
Yeah, I just cast that extra O to a side and just go with Zoe. But hey ho.
But I really like her in what's that sitcom she did that I used to watch that I don't watch anymore? Not the Good Girl. Yes, it was a Good Girl. New Girl. That's it. And she's been in. She was in Elf, and I like her in that as well. But she's in some really good films, and I like her as an actress. She's great. This is perfectly fine. I think she does well. What do you think, Lucy?
Yeah, I think I like her character less in this, and I kind of wish they'd done a bit more with her. I think that's one of my criticisms, actually, because it's not a perfect film. It's really not. I just wish she'd been a little bit more active. She was a very passive character, annoyingly.
Yeah.
And just kind of almost just following Mark Wahlberg and then sort of looking after the kid. That was basically all she existed for, really. I mean, performance-wise, she was fine. I just wish the character was a bit more rounded. It would have been nice.
Yeah, she does. You've hit the nail on the head there. She's superfluous, really, in terms of she's there just to act off of what Mark's trying to do. And at no point does she. I mean, she seems perfectly capable to take the lead, and when he's struggling to. And at various points in the movie, we sort of as confused as Mark is, or Elliot Moore, which is the character he plays in the movie. And you almost need someone to sort of take the reins, and I think she could have quite easily done that. And other good actors in this is, I would say, would be Frank Collison, which I know I'm sort of scooting across a little or ahead a little bit, but he's got such an amazing face. He plays the nursery owner.
And he solves the problem before anybody else even has a snifter, right? He's like, oh, it's the plant, cool, it gave him killing everyone. And then kind of slowly throughout the rest of the film, people come to agree with him.
Yeah. I mean, every time I see him on screen, I think he's a great character actor, and he does pretty well in here. John, I'm going to really struggle with his name now, but John Leguizamo. But he's from Romeo and Juliet and a couple of other films that I recognise him in.
He's great. He's great character actor in lots of stuff. He's probably the best thing in this film as well.
Well, exactly. So I was going to say, I think he would have been better served as being in the lead or lead role than Mark Wahlberg in this occasion. I just think he's got better acting chops. Really, I think he carries it quite well. If we can just sort of spend a bit of time on the deaths, I think that for me is a massive selling point to The Happening. if you don't understand the plot, or you think the plot is absolute tosh, then it's worth seeing for the deaths alone. What, off the top of your head, Lucy, what would you think would be your top deaths in this movie?
We need some countdown, like top 10 music, like in at number 10.
Oh, there's so many. Definitely the lawnmower one. That's horrible.
Yes.
And like, you just think, Jesus, that's such a horrible way to go. And I kind of like, I remember when I was rewatching it, and I thought they cut away at that point, but it was nice to see some gore. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, a little bit of blood, nice. Also the bit when the first kind of major death we see when people are jumping off the scaffolding is pretty unnerving as well. Like
Yes.
if you're working like as a construction worker and you just see all these bodies falling towards you, that's horrifying,
Yeah.
I know it's being criticised for like them looking like dummies or whatever, but that to one side, I thought it was a pretty effective shot.
I think the
Well,
opening
I'm in
5
the
minutes of the
minority.
film is quite. It's really atmospheric. The opening 5 minutes. I really like the opening two characters when she's kind of describing what she's seeing rather than actually us sort of outweigh seeing it. It kind of makes it more terrifying in a way, because it's just like, oh God, what is going on?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about her death. She like stabbed herself with a hairpin, doesn't she? That's the
Yeah,
first death we see.
a very long, sharp, almost too dangerous hairpin thing, knitting
Yeah,
needle.
what kind of hairpin is that? I've
Yeah.
never seen that before.
I mean, that
This is
shouldn't
New
be
York
allowed.
Central Park, right? So she's got to get tooled up just in case.
So those two off the bat I think are pretty good. If I could interject and tell you, one of my favourites is the lion mauling, because there's two versions of this. Now I remember, I think there's a cut version for the cinema, but then I think for the DVD release they kept it in, which you see him with one arm off and the lion mauling, ripping the other arm off. And I think in some versions, I think you don't see necessarily full maulage.
Do you know what I like most about that scene is that like you don't actually see that. That's someone like they're there. It's on their mobile phone, right? And so the first thing they do, they see this horrible thing, is they show it to the person with the small child next to them. They go, "Oh my God, have you seen this? And you, small child, gather round. This is something that you all need to see as well."
Yeah, she just sort of interjects out of nowhere. Oh my God, why did you see this? And everyone's like, oh.
She was like, "Fuck me, this is my favourite death so far. Check this one out." And number
It's like,
5 will really shock you.
It's like the Zombieland, isn't it? It's like the top kills. That segment they have in Zombieland. It's like they were all just watching a montage on happening. But yeah, I think the fact that there was a cut or edited version, I'm fairly certain, because I saw the film and then I saw today to refresh myself. There's all the death scenes on YouTube. There's like a montage of every single death with a kill count, which is very good. And that version saw there was more maulage going on. So it's just spooky, the fact that somebody would deliberately go in and he's just sort of waving his arm around to say, "Come on, sniff this, have a bit of this lovely meat." This is, that was a good one. But yeah, I mean, peppered all through the movie are these. I mean, it is tense, and it's like there are unnerving bits. The other kill or kills is the "this is my rifle" guy, the army guy. The rest of the movie and the explanation of what happens doesn't quite mesh together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think I can understand why a lot of people would be kind of annoyed by the ending, especially like kind of, why did it happen? Oh, we don't know. Like, oh, all right then. You know what I mean? Like, I understand. Like, I know a lot of people want context in these kind of films,
but there doesn't necessarily always need to be. It doesn't always need to be explained. What do they say?
Was it not like doubly disappointing at the end? It was a really odd ending, right? Because I mean, obviously, jump to the end, but like he just kind of comes out. They're prepared to die. They've given up on trying to avoid the gentle breeze. So they come out and they meet and go, "Oh, it must have just finished." And then you cut 3 months later and everything's fine again. But like that would be a bad ending for a normal film, but for an M. Night Shyamalan film, like where you're expecting a twist, you're always expecting a twist with him, right? So is the twist, was it a double fake? Was the twist no twist? Did he get us?
I think he got us somewhere. Not necessarily what you think. I don't think it was as clever as that. I just think he was trying to deliver a horror, a mystery, suspenseful horror movie with some sort of human condition, psychotic undertones. And I think, if you were to put this movie out, if you remade this movie, 2020 would be the perfect year to set it in because of what the hell is going on. And you could just imagine everyone at a Trump sort of rally doing this sort of thing, just turning around and starting killing themselves, or even in the UK at some sort of Brexit rally or something.
Standard behaviour, isn't it?
Wasn't there like a Trump rally recently where they all went on the boats on the sea or something, and boats started sinking? I just thought, this is the happening. It's happening right now. Lucy, just for the sake of anyone who's not listened to this, who've not watched this film before, can you explain a bit about what the plot of this movie is in terms of the happening itself? What are they trying to say is happening? What do they kind of come to conclusion is happening?
Good question. I think what I got from it is essentially like the plants were kind of trying to fight back, and like it was contained in the northeast of America for some reason. And they ask a guy on the TV, and he's like, I'm not quite sure why it happened, but the plants just wanted to do this to us, and that's basically how they explain it. It's a bit weird. It was kind of like, we don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of pseudoscience around it, saying that it's kind of like an environmental sort of message going on underneath.
Like a warning shot for the plants, right? It was like
the plants were back off. They were getting together and having a little chat and saying, "Well, we're gonna test it out first in this part of America and Paris, isn't it? I think, isn't it two places, isn't it?
Right at the end,
by the end of the film, yeah.
So they're having this chat as they do, because I think we should all have respect for plants, for grass and leaves and things. And they have a little chinwag, and they decide they're going to try it out in parts of the world. And it is an extremely successful way of killing a load of dumbass people for whatever purpose or reason. Why did they not keep going? If their goal was to, reduce human sort of footprint, then why did it stop? Answer me.
It's because plants aren't dicks, right? They just needed a
the
sort
plants
of.
just got bored. They were like, "Oh, I've got better things to be doing." It's time for some photosynthesis. Forget it.
Shit, autumn's coming. What should we do? Hide.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, this is where the film can get frustrating, is the kind of like, why is there no context? Why did this happen? Like, why did the plants do this? Because like any basic film where there's like a virus or a pandemic or something, they try to explain it. So I can see why all the reviewers are like, what? But, maybe the plants just got sick. I mean, I can't really blame them, to be honest.
They got bored with the process of communicating with each other and trying to kill the human race. I would say, though, I watched a very interesting YouTube. I went down a bit of a happening YouTube rabbit hole this afternoon, and I watched him. Some guy has reviewed all M. Night Shyamalan's films in some sort of sequence and thinks they're all connected. So if you search, I'll probably put the link somewhere if I can on Twitter or whatever. But basically, if you watch if you watch Signs, and then you watch The Happening, and then After Earth, you can, if you want to, connect the three films. So Signs basically is, I'm going to bore you. Stop me if this gets really stupid and tedious, because I found it quite interesting.
Signs is when basically aliens send down sort of foot soldiers who are consumable because they invade a place where water hurts them. We're made up mostly of water, to test I can't even believe to test their little virus thing, but they can only inject it directly into the face. That's why that alien in Signs squirts that stuff into that little child. Remember? Right. So anyway, so that's film one, and it fails because they're just testing water. And in The Happening, we open with lots of shots of the sky and the clouds and the wind moving the clouds, and that is apparently supposed to prelude to the fact that they've dispensed this gas, second wave, 10 years later, into another pocket or area of the world to test it again. This time it's more successful because yes, they don't have to squirt it directly into your face, they can release it out, blah blah blah. Anyway, that works. And then apparently After Earth is when they really kick it into a gear and do full on mass invasion of the world. Now I can't remember much about After Earth, but I know that the human race basically had to leave Earth and find somewhere else, and that's the result of these dumbass aliens from the very beginning from Signs.
Does that make sense?
No.
Not at all, but at least it's an explanation, so I'll take it.
I've got an alternative one that I thought of whilst you were talking there. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Right, so we had Unbreakable, where Bruce Willis is like, Superman-esque kind of superhero. Then we got Glass and Split, obviously introducing us to more sort of superhuman people. What if Mark Wahlberg has special powers to activate plants into being dicks? And that's what happened in this film. It was kind of his origin story, which is why it stopped at the end, and because it never killed him, right? Several times the wind went past him. I mean, he tried to outrun it twice. I mean, as a science teacher, you should probably know that even a gentle breeze is going to be quite tricky to try and peg it past. But yeah, he tries. So stay ahead of the wind. Is he quotes.
Is he Plant Man then?
I reckon he's Plant Man.
Other people say that this is a thing can only affect people with bad vibes. Apparently, the girl in the beginning of the movie where her friend sat next to her stabs herself in the neck with a knitting needle, she has good vibes apparently, and therefore she doesn't kill herself. Where everybody else who potentially has a bad vibe or gets cross or angry or scared, that's when you're most likely to kill yourself and other people. Well, kill yourself, and essentially, and that's how it spreads. The panic and the fear is what does it. That's why apparently they say as well at the end of the movie, those two lead characters are able to leave because they've accepted the fact that they're going to die and they're no longer scared of dying. Apparently that's what they say as well. But it kind of makes sense because, as I said, mentioned earlier on, that every kind of death scene or moment of violence is preceded by like scared people being angry, screaming or shouting. Like those poor two teenage kids who get shot. For an unknown reason, they start trying to kick that door in just to sort of and no point throughout any part of that movie is that boy been sort of hostile or sort of aggressive, and then all of a sudden he sort of switches to some sort of angry kid, and that's when things go tits up in that sort of scene.
Yeah, but doesn't he get shot?
Yeah, so I'm saying he gets shot because of his actions and maybe
Wasn't the plants that shot him though, was it?
Oh, was it not? Oh, sorry.
The rubber plant got tooled up and decided to go full direct.
Okay, forget what I just said. Oh man, this film's got me babbling away.
It's got you reaching. Is the problem? Is like, I think I agree with Lucy right at the start. If you look at it as this wonderful kind of old-fashioned The Blob, The Fog kind of B movie, and even the acting style that's in it is kind of really reminiscent of those 60s, 70s, the giant ants attack and stuff. It's like there's no way that Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel are this bad at acting, like on purpose, right? It's got that. I mean, there's several scenes in it where you're just like that can't have been the best take if they are acting, because we've seen these people act well in other things. So there's definitely, they set a tone, and I think it's it's either missed people by or it's just one of those, I just don't know if it's on purpose, and it's just not obvious enough for it to sort of elevate it to like that 6-7 out of 10 rather than languishing in the 5.
Yeah, good point.
Because I mean, like, there's one scene in which really I think shows you what the film is when he's talking to the plastic plant.
Yeah,
oh, I love that.
I love that scene.
Lucy, talk us through the plastic plant scene, please.
Oh, the plastic plant scene. So they've basically they're on the run, and they've broken into this house, and presumably it's a show home because everything turns out to be plastic. But at the time, Mark Wahlberg is left alone in this study area, and Zooey is taking the kid to the toilet, and he goes up with this plastic plant and basically starts trying to like negotiate with it. Like, I can't remember exactly what he says now, but it's actually hilarious.
Hello? My name is Elliot Moore. I'm just going to talk in a very positive manner, giving off good vibes. We're just here to use the bathroom, and then we're just gonna leave. I hope that's okay. Plastic. I'm talking to a plastic plant.
And I think if you just look at it as kind of like a thriller with some moments that you're going to laugh at, then you'll have more fun. And I think this is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that scene. It's so funny.
He kind of introduces himself as Mr. Moore as well. He's like, "Hi,
He does,
I'm Mr. Moore." And then he realizes it's plastic, and then he kind of lambasts himself, like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, here I am. What's become of me? I'm talking to a plastic plant." Like, the plastic part is the important part of that problem there.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Well, would you, in his situation or in his position, you would probably be doing the same thing, trying to find a way to negotiate. I've tried to get things to grow in my garden, and I've had a couple of successes, but most of the time it is,
it's based on pleading, is it really?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Have you ever spoken to anything like a plant or a flower as a sort of relaxing, in a relaxing way, like they say you should? Have you done that before, Lucy?
People say you can talk to plants. Apparently they can get some kind of vibe from you, but no, I can't say I have. The only plants I have are cacti because they don't die. They're great. You need to water them like 3 times a year. It's the best thing.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. I need some cactuses. Everything else just seems to fall apart.
Oh, that's so low maintenance. They're great.
Maybe it's because I'm singing to them and they just don't like my voice, so they're just trying to kill me. They're just dying. Matt, have you ever spoken to anything, Matt, like a flower or a plant before? You can tell us now. I mean, it's a perfect opportunity to.
I'm trying to think. I've never spoken to a plant. I did have a quite successful yucca plant, which I was amazed at the fact that I didn't kill it. It was beautiful. It kind of was, verdant and wonderful, and I watered it every week. And then one day I accidentally knocked it over and it snapped in half. It was a rental property, I have to point out at this point, and it was plastic, and I'd been watering it for about 6 months. But it's quite obviously it's a decent plastic one, but I was quite surprised when it snapped in half and it was polystyrene. Kind of the trunky area of it was very.
That's such a Matt thing to do. If you had your own sitcom, that would be the crescendo of that episode.
I don't think anyone would watch that. It's a plastic plant. Yeah, I don't know. No, I've never actually spoken to one though. Not directly. I mean, I've addressed a room where there's been plants, so they were free to listen. I mean, I've never sort of excluded a plant. I've never gone. I need to speak to these guys here. Could you take the plant out?
Yeah, get rid of that cheese plant. He looks like a right dick. Heckling at the back there, flapping your leaves disapprovingly of my presentation. What do you know? I was going to ask a question of you both as well. Just Lucy, you first, about M. Night Shyamalan and about his body of work. And he's one of these. I think he's a fine director and he's got a great imagination. But what do you think he can? What do you think he can do to sort of win back the audience that he's lost over the years?
Yeah, I think for me, like obviously, Signs is my personal favourite film of his. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And then I think it's gradually kind of got worse since Signs. And I think a film I always reference as something I absolutely hated, but was really looking forward to, was The Visit. Because The Visit had such good potential. And then it just had the most ridiculous twist, like ridiculous. And I think that ruined the whole tone of it. So I think, I know he's known for like, oh, what a twist and all that, but like I think he just needs to rein it in and make his twist a bit more sensible. And I think, because he has good ideas, he has good concepts for horrors and things, and then it just, in the third act, it just takes this very strange sort of U-turn and doesn't make any sense. And I think that's where he loses me personally. He just needs to calm it down.
I think that one of the things to sort of celebrate in terms of what he does is that he self-finances an awful lot of his own movies, which is incredible. Okay, so let's cap off. Let's prune the happening now and come up with some other puns, plant related, if you can. I think I've done it now. That's it. But in a nutshell, I think we have to decide whether we're going to let this be released out to the public, like the kind of the plague it is, or
before we do that, can we have a look at some of the weird bits, and maybe, as Lucy is the fan of the film, could try and explain them to me.
Yeah, okay, let's not jump ahead.
I'm liking where this is going. Okay, cool.
Let's go on in.
Okay, so as the exposition goes, right, so it becomes very clear in there's news reports early on that it's an airborne thing, and is obviously affecting everybody within a certain region. Why does everyone stay outside?
Because that's where the plants are. Question mark.
I mean, it's not even. I mean, like it must be like worse than pollen. This thing, because like even like a shitty old shack, you shut the door, you're safe, right? So like not even. I mean, this could happen tomorrow, and everyone with their COVID masks would be absolutely fine. Or alternatively, just stay in your car, wind up your windows. I mean, John Leguizamo, when he's going off, and that's the other thing that annoys me, he leaves his daughter, goes to look after my daughter, and then Zooey kind of goes, all right, and then he gives her a real, like, if you take my daughter's hand, then you're going to look after her. And it's like, oh, you just ask me a favour. But he's decided to abandon her anyway, just throw her to the nearest randomo. And then, like, they're driving in like a cloth top Jeep, and he's like trying to shut the air vents to stop the airborne pathogen coming in, which seems to work. So it's not a particularly pervasive airborne pathogen. Just stay indoors.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think this is certainly where the film's lacking. Like I said, is why context, please. Like even just the nonsense science would be great. And I do appreciate that. And I think, you know, it's sort of like, how did it get inside cars? How did it not get inside houses? I don't really understand that. So I can't really answer that, I'm afraid.
There's one point they're in like a troop of people, and they pull over. They all pull over in their cars. And they go, we're going to this village. Oh, all right, okay. How should we get there? Well, it's plant-based. Let's go across the field. So that's just brilliant. Yeah, of course, that's exactly what we should do. We should go across the field. Yeah. Can't see anything that's happening there.
Basically, that's The Happening 1, Lucy nil. Right,
this is going to happen a lot because it's a very nonsensical film. I'm not feeling confident, trust me.
I think you should make it up. Right, the most outlandish answers, the better. What other crazy notes have you written?
Why is that old lady such an asshole?
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah.
You must have an answer.
I love her though. Yeah, it's just like she just invites them in for food, and then like the kid takes a biscuit, and then she just hits her, and it's like whoa, 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 whoa.
And they say nothing. They kind of go, "That's fine," you know, totally normal. Just beat the child because you know she wanted a biscuit, which you left in front of her. By the way.
Exactly. Just don't take what's like not yours, and it's like, well, it's on the table.
Yeah, and not just being an asshole. She also refers to lemonade as lemon drink. It's like, what are you doing there? I'm drinking some of my lemon drink. Like,
okay.
Do you mean lemonade? No.
Like it doesn't understand. Lemon drink, yes.
But isn't that quite a good scene, and she's a good character because that does build the suspense because you know instantly when you see her that she's a wrong'un. But the whole hand slapping scene, and then when she basically accuses them of trying to kill her and stuff, he's like, no.
The best thing about that scene is the fact it forces Mark Wahlberg into like this sort of inner like desperation rage in his face, and he kind of almost implodes in like an interstellar kind of facial moment where his face almost departs into itself as he tries to look as incredulous as possible. God, I wouldn't dream of killing you, naughty old lady. I don't understand where that went, and that stayed in. Yeah,
I know. I think you won that one, Lucy, just because you said you liked her.
I think though, if I was going to try and bullshit my way out of this, I think perhaps that could be like, well, she's been sat outside, so she's been affected by it, and it's gradually taken hold of her, and she's going more and more nasty.
Yes,
that's my nonsense explanation.
Yeah, it makes sense, and actually, because she's slightly older in her senior years, maybe it takes a little bit longer for it to sort of seep in. It's not like an instantaneous thing.
Because she does eventually. It does take hold of her, and she does go outside.
Oh yeah, she goes absolutely
horrifically. Actually, just
smash her face through glasses. Yeah,
she's a window headbutter. Betty Buckley, she is great actress. Anything else?
In there. My apologies.
Anything else, Matt?
Just my final question is what was Mark Wahlberg going to say to the kids that they decided was so important that he left it in? Because he kind of, at the beginning, there's terrorist attack. The kids seem, and this is the thing with everyone in this film, no one seems to give a fuck, right? So there seems to be like some other low-key symptom to this this pollen disease, in that everyone just kind of doesn't give a shit. Because quite often, like, people are just dying over there, and people are just chatting, going, so where should we go next then? It's almost like, you know, you've been kicked out of a nightclub at 2:00 and you desperately need to go somewhere else. And there's a fight going on over there and no one gives a shit. So yeah, there's this like really low key thing. But right at the beginning, they think it's a terrorist attack. His class leave to go to, I don't know, other remedial classes that people better than Mark Wahlberg takes. And he goes, "Hey kids," and then they turn around and he goes, "No," and that stays in the film. Like, that survived an edit.
Yeah.
So my final question is, Lucy, what was he going to say?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, who knows at this point? Maybe he was going to finally explain photosynthesis. I don't know. Like, before you leave, wait a minute.
Don't forget your homework. Bless him. He did. Bless him. God, I sound so pathetic there. Bless him. He did his best, and I think we all did watching it again. But I mean, yeah, I think as a guest, a special guest that you are, Lucy, you get obviously the golden ticket. That's how it works. So the bunker overlords will always look kindly upon you because you've agreed to come on the show. So the happening is happening now. It's out there. Everyone can see it happening in front of their very eyes if they want to. And I would actually say watch this movie because it is good fun, and it is a very, as you both said, it's a B movie with some quite humorous performances that might not necessarily would have been intended to be, but the concept and some of the deaths alone are worth maybe, you know, and it's 190. It's at 190 minutes. It's 90 minutes. I think
90 minutes. Yeah, so it's a perfect length for a bad film.
It's a good length for a movie, and I think we should all applaud M. Night Shyamalan for his tenacity and, you know, just desire to make movies, even if they're not quite ready for public consumption. A moment of silence.
Also worth watching, just so you can count the fact that they mentioned happened 23 times in the film. There's an IMDb fact that I now want to rewatch and verify, because I'm pretty fucking sure it happens more than that.
Shall we quickly, before we say goodbye to Lucy and to our listeners, all three of them, let's have a look at the new feature which we call IMDb plot keywords. Now, This is a new thing. We don't do this very often, but it's our new game to play. So IMDb will have plot keywords, which will help you find the film. So I
just read the third one. I don't know if your list is the same as mine, but the third one is a brilliant phrase.
Yes. So third one down, artificial plant. Am I right? Is that the same as yours?
No, mine's no particular reason.
We've got shooting a child, which is never a nice plot keyword as far as I'm concerned. What's car horn? Hot dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's mentioned hot dogs in it.
Yeah. Armed, ripped off. What have you got? What can you go? Pick one, Matt, at random.
God, there's so many child-based shooting ones. I think I'll kind of eco-horror. Car crashing into a tree. I mean, who searches for that? Who goes, do you know what I want to watch tonight? What I really need in my life is a film where there's a scene where a car crashes into a tree. So I'm just going to get myself onto IMDb and a breeze. I like that one. Breeze is kind of, because fundamentally the bad guy in the film's a breeze, right?
Yeah. Well, this is a good one as well. Man wears eyeglasses.
Narrow it down, would you? I mean, come on.
How many movies is that? This is the three I think you're on about, which is the real dark side of this is Bloody Body of Child, Murder of Boy, and Murder of Child. But you can rate these as are they relevant? And yes, they are.
Yes.
These are very relevant. But yeah, there's some pretty horrific ones. On here. Good
Walking
Lord.
the dog is on there as well, just in case.
Walking the dog. Yeah.
Walking the dog.
Suicide by hanging.
Walking backwards.
Yeah, and Albert Einstein. Right.
There you
we
go.
could be there are hundreds, literally
225.
Oh, I love this. This is brilliant.
It's a very good game to play, and IMDb's is good at this sort of thing. Dog and garden, hitchhike, tree. There you go. There's a few more for you, all connected to the fantastic 2008 happening that happened. Well, Lucy, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've been looking forward to doing this movie for so long, and we just never found the time to do it. And it's been great that you come along and defended its honour. And actually, you like the film. We kind of like the film, and I guess we're taking the mickey out of it tonight. But it is a good fun watch, really, isn't it?
Sometimes those films are great, right? The films that you can take the mickey out of, right? It's like sit there, watch it with a mate who's at least 2 meters away and part of your bubble. But yeah, sit there, watch it with a friend, and just have a laugh at some of the ridiculousness of it, and occasionally be slightly horrified at someone getting run over by a lawnmower.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a film you can watch with friends and just sort of have a laugh with it, That's the beauty of it, really.
There's got to be a drinking game, right? Every time someone dies, have a shot. I don't know, maybe that would...
Oh, God.
I mean, the opening scene is they're cascading off of the building might be a bit, the last thing you remember, I guess.
Well, Matt, you just need to watch the montage or the YouTube thing with all the death scenes, because there's about 45 exact deaths or dead bodies. So that's your 45 shots there. Wow. At least you're going to get through at least one bottle of whatever it is your typical choices.
Yep.
Where can we find you, Lucy, online and Twitter? What's your handles, and what can we find you getting up to?
Yeah, you can find me at LGTH blog, because my blog is too long to put as a username. And at the minute, I've just finished Fright Fest coverage, and I'm gearing up for London Film Festival coverage next month as well. So keep myself busy.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for coming on. If you like the podcast and you're new to it, make sure you subscribe and you download all the back catalogue. There's plenty there to get your teeth into. And give us a rating as well. It helps. Or leave a review. That's even nicer. Helps us get into the ears of the people that have not listened to us before. And we're on social media as well. Get crack-a-lacking on that. It's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All the really good ones. You can like us virtually and in person as well. If you bump into us, that's always nice. And the website address is, Matt?
www.moviebunkerpodcast.com.
Well, thanks, guys. It's been absolutely marvellous.
Yeah, thanks for making me watch
that.
It's
been a blast. Thank you so much.
See you again soon on the next episode of the Movie Bunker Podcast. This is new. I've not done that before.
Wow, that's new. How can we 2 years in and you never actually do the same ending twice? You're like M. Night Shyamalan of the podcast world.
I'm overall kind of weird radio show kind of guy.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, man. Let's just say goodbye then.
All right, see ya.
Bye.